Let's talk about PCOS and IBS because I'm a functional nutritionist and I have somewhat of a controversial opinion. I believe that IBS can be fixed or reversed. I think it's largely a nutritional issue, and I say that with confidence because I've done this work with myself and with literally hundreds of people. I've had people go from having diarrhea multiple times a day to having normal digestion and not having to remove a ton of different foods forever. So this is going to be a really long video because I cannot do this topic justice in 60 seconds. I just can't. So save this for when you have time. So the first thing to understand is that IBS is very common in PCOS. About 40% of people with PCOS have IBS. So you're not alone. This is something that largely I think contributes to PCOS because having IBS indicates that we also have something called dysbiosis, also common in PCOS, which is where we have imbalances in our gut bacteria. And that contributes to digestive issues, but it also contributes to this overall environment of sort of chronic inflammation, which is also a factor in PCOS. So we know that that all is associated also with something called intestinal permeability or leaky gut. And leaky gut's very common in PCOS as well. So we've got this whole slew of issues going on with how we're digesting foods. We have breakdowns in the chain of our digestion because our bacteria, our good bacteria, largely play a role in how we break down different sources of fiber and different foods like that. So the first thing to do to fix this is to figure out what's triggering it in the first place. And sometimes this is the hard part, but the thing that I recommend is starting out with a very gentle diet. So I usually recommend combining a comprehensive elimination diet, which will help you get to the root of whether you have any food allergy sensitivities, with a low FODMAP diet. FODMAPs are fermentable starches in foods that can be hard to digest when you have IBS because they cause excess gas production that you then don't have, the resources to sort of break down. For about 30 days, if you follow a comprehensive elimination diet and you do a low FODMAP diet, it'll be tough, but you should get to the point where you're having normal digestion. At the same time, you want to also include a high quality probiotic. And my little caveat here is if you don't tolerate probiotics, if you take them and they contribute to your issues, doesn't mean that you don't need them. What it means is that you need to build tolerance to them. You might try a lighter probiotic, you might try a different formulation, but you need some sort of probiotic because this is going to help slowly build things up. If you're having really regular diarrhea, something called Saccharomyces boulardii, I may be pronouncing that wrong, but I use that all the time in practice, that can really help. What this is going to do is start building those colonies of bacteria and kind of repairing things while you are removing all of the triggers. And so by the end of that 30 days, you should be able to start reintroducing some of these foods and you should be able to tolerate them a lot better. So what you want to start with is start introducing the foods that you were cutting out because of intolerance issues. So things like low FODMAP or high FODMAP foods. So, gradually, very slowly, little bits at a time. Don't go eating an entire apple, but, eat a fourth of an apple, see how you tolerate it. And then, the next day, try a little bit more and just keep building up on all that. You don't want to be on a low FODMAP diet forever. This is such a misconception. A low FODMAP diet, you might feel good on it, but you're not getting the right kinds of, food for your good bacteria when you're eating low FODMAP permanently. So you want to kind of push in that department as much as you tolerate from time to time. Just keep kind of pushing forward. And you will start to digest things better as you build those colonies of good bacteria. You also want to try to reintroduce the foods that you think you have sensitivities to. The most common ones are gluten, dairy, eggs, soy, those kinds of things. And with those, you might find that you try it, does not go well, so you need to keep removing it, and then you can try it again in a couple of months and just keep trying them from time to time. I know this is probably already getting confusing, so I do want to mention that I cover this in great depth in my course, Functional PCOS. I actually walk you through a comprehensive elimination diet. So if that's something that resonates for you, it's there. At this point, your biggest goal is to keep good records of what's triggering issues for you and what foods seem to be safe. And with time, continuing to build variety, continuing to build your fiber up. Once you get to the point where you're eating FODMAPs again and you are eating most most foods again. You can still have something that maybe you're like allergic to or sensitive to or whatever that you're avoiding. But once you get to the point where you're digesting fiber again pretty well, that's when you can start implementing some of those, PCOS strategies that I've mentioned before, because now you'll be tolerating those foods again. And if you get stuck at any point and you feel like you're trying and you're just not getting there, the problem could be numerous different things. It could be allergies. It could be that you haven't been able to take like the right combination of probiotic support. You might need to do a little bit more of that. You might need some prebiotics. Like, there are a lot of different things that could be going on. So if you get stuck, that's when I recommend working one-on-one with somebody who knows what they're doing in this. So anyway, I hope that helps, but I know you're going to have questions, so please ask them and I will try to answer. I'm also going to do an in-depth podcast on this topic that should be released in a few weeks. So you can find the link for that in my bio.